Well, today's World Bhangra Day, and we're celebrating this global phenomenon of Bhangra that's shifted from the east to the west and become such an important part of British culture. The university is really delighted to be involved in it. I taught Hardeep Sahota on his MA in oral history of Bhangra here, and when he asked us to get involved, we're really pleased because it fits with what the university is about. It's inspiring, it's innovative, and it's international, so it focuses attention on diverse culture in Britain.
So clearly, where has this music come from? What are its roots, and how has it travelled here to Britain, and where is it going? That's always important. So it's a dance form that's amalgamated and met a number of other music genres: rock and pop, hip hop, dance hall, as well as British music. And it's also transformed. There's been some concern raised today as well, as are we losing the authenticity of that music? So, with its Indian roots, are we losing the language? Does the language need to change to become English? So we had some interesting and open dialogue and discussion to say, well, actually, this is a hybrid and mixed form. Can it develop, and does it have a life of its own if it starts moving away from some of its kind of roots and background?
I don't think that the authenticity is being lost.
Do you know, in this country, with the youth, the big problem is the language. They don't speak Punjabi that well. There's a lot of talent out there. I've been involved with the British Asia Talent Programme for a few years as well. There is a lot of talent out there, but they have a massive problem speaking Punjabi and being able to sing in a pure Punjabi form. They can sing Punjabi, but if you listen to the Punjabi that they sing, you'll just laugh at them, right? And they don't want to be made fools, and we wouldn't want to make fools of them.
So nowadays you've got a language which is basically Pinglish, it's Punjabi and English, and it's a hybrid of both. So you get people who speak Punjabi and then they'll fling in a Punjabi word and then fling in an English word, and it's great. I mean, I'm at work and I'm talking to my boss, who's white, English, and I'll talk to him, and in the middle of it I'll go, Hanji, and I'll say to him, Hannah, like, you understand? And he does, because he's so used to me basically flinging it in, and it's just basically become the norm of part of my mindset. I just talk and I just speak to people, and I'll do it. But that doesn't mean to say I don't understand Punjabi, because I do. But some of the Punjabi words are quite traditional. They've not been used for a long, long time.
Black and Asian people in Britain aren't prepared to accept the notion that they're not a central part of the culture. And actually, while of course there are some right-wing and racist people who wouldn't believe that, the vast majority of British people fully accept that being British is about difference, and that difference isn't a bad thing, that it actually allows us to flourish as a country.
You had the original Punjabi immigrants coming over, bringing their folk music to the urban environment. And once it was in the urban environment, it has to adapt.
Bhangra is something, and folk dances comes from inside. It gives me real happiness and joy. I get into a completely different world. On professional level, I haven't thought about taking it to professional level, but before I realised, I think I am involved on professional level actually, helping youngsters to learn our dance, theory behind it, history behind it and all that, and discussing more in depth here, and then doing the live performance is the real result of it.
So Bhangra is a dance form, but also an oral vernacular form as well.
So there's bands that celebrate that aspect, that shared heritage that we have. It's a very interesting combination of things that's happening with Bhangra. One of the more interesting musical styles, I think, in terms of the diversity you can get and the kind of changes between the traditional side and the fusion side.
Along with Bhangra music, the actual words are really, really important. The correct pronunciation, the Punjabi language does encompass that.
If things like language are becoming more and more difficult for future generations, and language plays an important part for cultural transmission, and I suppose we also need to have ways in which there's maybe workshops or opportunities to kind of encourage the speaking of different languages.
The old traditional Punjabi lyrics were relevant to a certain time, to a certain people, in a certain place, right? What we did was relevant to a certain kind of, was relevant to people like us, right? Because they could identify with that stuff. Now kids, I think time has moved on. People are open to other things. People are open to experimenting. People are open to other influences. Bhangra music has moved on, right? And as long as it's relevant, the subject matter of the songs that I would sing in English, if I sang in English, would not be traditional folk subject matter. It wouldn't be that, because it wouldn't be relevant to anybody today, right? You could do the odd one song here there just as an experiment thing, but I would sing about subject matter that would be relevant to kids of kids of today.
Women have a crucial part to play in that tradition. There's a style of music called gidda and a style of dance called gidda, and this is where women perform aspects of their identity.
The role of women here is very different to the role of women in India and Pakistan, for the simple reason that where women performers perform in places back home, they're not your standard kind of venues that you'd use here. That, for example, they're not nightclubs.
At the moment, we can say it's not inclusive of women. We can say it's not incredibly inclusive of people of differing sexualities. There's a whole lot of heteronormativity. You know, it's not representative of that fact. Which is the fact that the South Asian community, wherever it is diverse in all respects. And I'd love to see Bhangra music reflecting that diversity within the community.
So female artists within the UK, they're very few and far between. In India, I think a lot of people actually appreciate talent, and then there's a little bit more respect that goes with that. Here, unfortunately, especially in the early 80s, 90s, things kind of changed a bit. But on the flip side, I know through research, basically, I found from day one there's been some really good, strong female vocalists, and they've found their way into, like, say, playback singing in the Bollywood film industry. But yeah, there's always been a bit of tension or difficulties and obstacles for female artists within the Bhangra industry. Yeah.
If there was a female Asian artist of note that was producing world-class product that was accessible, it would be embraced and marketed. So I don't think that there's that issue at all. In fact, I can be fairly definitive about that as my position as the chairman of the Music Producers Guild. But I mean, there's no racial issue in terms of that. However, I think it's a difficulty culturally to come up through the ranks and become an artist in that respect.
But she was talking about her experiences as an Indian woman DJing in nightclubs, and she spoke a lot about the problems with that, as in she would get heckled and to the point where she had to have bodyguards, that sort of thing. And I think those aspects which happened previously are still having an impact today on how women feel a part of the Bhangra music industry.
That, I think, is an unfortunate situation, and I have worked with the female artists that emerged in the 1980s and 90s. But unfortunately, it's very difficult in British Asian society for a woman to excel as an artist. Some of them are very successful business people, but I think that what you will find, India is progressing, or middle class India is progressing. It's moved into the 21st century. There's a slight reticence on the part of the diasporic population in the UK to move forward. It's going to take some time, but I think it will get there.
Bhangra is a festival music, right? It's a party music. It's a music used for rejoicing. They play the door and they sing Bhangra songs, and they just want to have a good time. And Bhangra music is first and foremost a good time music, right? It's about having a party, it's about drinking good wine, and it's about having fun, right? That's all I sing about.
We have so many traditions. We do dancing and singing when someone's born, on someone's death, on someone's wedding. I will give you a couple of lines on when someone's born. We sing songs like Masaleya, Masaleya, mere lale, aj din Masaleya, 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 mere lale, aj din Masaleya. That's like when someone's had birth of a son, they're celebrating that. And also when someone's getting married, they'll say, if your boy is getting married, again, it's a big celebration. Mathe te chamkan wale mere bande de, mathe te chamkan wale mere bande de. So there's traditions to celebrate every single stage of our life. So I'm really proud that I can share that with young ones this day and age.
I don't think the authenticity of Bhangra music is being lost for the simple fact that there's room for everybody. I think where your challenges are is where the promoters and the record labels and the artists are willing to put the investment in.
So yes, the commercial Bhangra world needs to support, the village flute player, and trying to actually build it like a relationship with those. I mean, what some of the street artists and some are up against. But I think as a form of expression of music, I would love to hear Bhangra mixed with all sorts of different stuff, but at the same time I would still like to hear very, very traditional, very kind of rustic Punjabi Bhangra as well.
There is a chance of it being diluted if there's no investment in the long term. If nobody's funding you to develop your music and develop you as an artist, it doesn't matter. If you're playing hip-hop, Bhangra, rock, reggae, it doesn't really matter at all. So there needs to be an investment. If they want money from it, they've got to put money into it to get a return.
I used to promote a lot of Bhangra events, within my college days in universities and polytechnics, and we used to have bands like Bhajangi and Anadi, with simple instruments like harmonium, dholak, and tabla. And the kind of dancing I used to see around that time was more like a traditional form of dancing. But then as the time had developed and like all the other bands, came up like DCS, Alap, Hiraz, I've seen the change in the dancing form as well, that the dancing has become more popular form of dancing as well.
Bhangra is becoming global. Bhangra is growing. I think if we think about British Bhangra music, it is in a hybrid form in itself. So if artists are genuinely respecting the craft and experimenting with form and content, then true to the British Bhangra genre, it's up for debate, it's up for ripe and development. If, however, commercial interests perhaps are key, or they want to make a quick buck, we've had this come and go, where artists wanted to make a quick buck and just press a few buttons and make the latest dance beat on a Bhangra track. And actually audiences responded and said, what kind of khaki is this? And if they respect both the art form as well as what audiences genuinely want, and I think there is space for that.
Well, it used to be thought that Britishness was somehow something that was fixed, associated with the olden times of empire, with the Second World War. But I think across the last 30, 40, 50 years, it's become clear that Britishness is actually a variety of things, a mix of ingredients from all around the world, connected in some ways to an imperial legacy. But actually, it's about the empire coming home and bringing with it cultures from other parts of the world, that are cultures that belong to British people. They belong to the children of the immigrants who came, who celebrate them not as somehow foreign and exotic, but actually part of British culture.
I think all music is a progression, and if it stands still, it won't go anywhere, and we won't have anything new, and it won't be exciting to be there.
The symposium today was really, really good. It was good because it brought academics that have obviously spent a lot of time researching the genre of music with practitioners, with people who are long-standing practitioners from both the traditional and non-traditional aspects of the scene. And it was nice because people who were actually genuinely interested in that kind of genre of music came to have a debate, and it was a good, healthy debate. So yeah, it was really, really good.
It's been great. It's been really interesting discussion. It's covered a lot of ground. It's covered race, ethnicity, authenticity, a lot of different important issues. So for that reason, I think it's been very worthwhile.
I think the challenging point was about Bhangra and its kind of roots. Tried to keep them alive, as well as having the balance for artists to kind of push the boundaries a bit and actually, take that music into different avenues.